Good evening and shalom. An entire state is jammed on the roads. The congestion on the roads is steadily worsening, and a truck that overturned this morning at Morashah Junction paralyzed the traffic throughout the country for 5 hours. Initiated power cuts occur throughout the state. The Israeli Electric Corporation has stated that the increased electricity demand has exceeded the electricity production, and power cuts will have to be endured. At the Sea of Galilee, the pumping of fresh water has been put to a halt. At a press conference, the spokesman of Mekorot Company revealed that we have reached the black line, and with any further pumping, the lake could reach the point of no return and be changed forever. A new record of unemployment rate in Israel. Last month, the level of job seekers surged from 10 to 12% and may still continue to rise. Both the Ministry of Social Affairs and Ministry of Finance have held each other responsible for the situation. And that concludes tonight's bulletin.
Poor achievements in education, failure in defense and welfare, lack of response in the infrastructure domain. It is no secret that the state of Israel in its present form is in a difficult situation. A state that has attained international achievements throughout the long years of its existence, a state that has produced intellectuals, scientists, and Nobel Prize laureates, still does not succeed in leading its citizens to a normal life. But as a matter of fact, why is this a wonder? In a reality whereby the average lifespan of an Israeli government is 2 years and ministers change every 5 months, it is clear that it is just not possible to carry out long-term programs of over and above 2 years. How is it possible to run a long-term state budget when 4 finance ministers have been replaced during the term of the 27th government? How can the water crisis in Israel be dealt with when 4 ministers of national infrastructure have been replaced during the term of the 30th Israeli government? In comparison, throughout the 233 years of American independence, 44 presidents have taken office. In the 61 years of Israel's statehood, Israel has already had 32 governments.
העם בישראל אמר את דברו באופן חד וברור. העם רוצה שינוי. העם רוצה ללכת בדרך אחרת. הדרך שלנו ניצחה. היא הדרך שתוביל את העם.
הגעתי לנשיא מדינת ישראל ואמרתי שם, יבחר העם את נבחריו, והיום העם בחר קדימה.
The electoral system in Israel is so absurd that on election eve we were all treated to 2 victory speeches, as the system itself does not prove to be conclusive. How have we reached this situation? At present, the public in Israel elects 120 Knesset members, and the government remains in office as long as it holds a majority of 61 Knesset seats. Early elections can be called when the government fails to get a majority vote of 61 Knesset members. It turns out that the Prime Minister spends the majority of his time maintaining the coalition and satisfying the political interests of splinter groups and Knesset members instead of doing his job. In the 80s, a new movement which emerged succeeded to lead to a partial, quiet revolution, and in 1996, elections for the first time were held featuring direct elections for the Prime Minister. The objective was to strengthen the position of the Prime Minister in the Knesset and to produce more political stability. However, as a result of the right to vote directly for a Prime Minister and for a party, this led to further fragmentation of the Knesset by virtue of split ticketing. And in place of a strong and stable government, the situation led to an even weaker and unstable coalition. The Citizens Empowerment Center in Israel is a non-partisan organization that believes that the solution to the governability problems in Israel is by implementing major changes to the Israeli electoral system and governance, and ultimately generating stable governments which will complete the full 4-year term as mandated by the Israeli law. In order to implement these necessary changes in legislation, the organization is initiating and establishing the Forum for Governmental Stabilization, an organization that will consist of many senior members of the academic staff, from business sector, and past and present senior public representatives. The Forum has apprehended that in order to bring changes to the electoral system, it is necessary to implement a full-fledged reform, which will include 3 basic principles. 1. The elected Prime Minister will be able to appoint ministers without the Knesset's approval. 2. A majority of 75 Knesset members will be necessary to call for early elections. And 3. By implementing regional elections, elected representatives will be much more accountable to their voters. The organization's activities are already visible. In the last elections, all party leaders promised in their victory speeches to implement changes to the system, as the forum demands and recommends.
אבל אנחנו מבינים היום גם את הצורך שאנחנו רואים אותו בשנים האחרונות ביציבות שלטונית ובשינוי השיטה על מנת שנוכל לממש את הכרעת הבוחר על ידי ממשלה נבחרת, ולכן בכוונתי לבחור ולפעול לשינוי שיטת הבחירות כדי שהכרעת הבוחר תוכל לבוא לידי ביטוי בממשלה יציבה שפועלת לאורך זמן.
בכל מקום שנהיה בו, בממשלה או באופוזיציה, נפעל לשינוי שיטת הממשל ושיטת הבחירות. אי אפשר להמשיך כך.
ואולי הבחירות האחרונות מוכיחות, אין ברירה. חייבים לנוע לכיוון שינוי שיטת הממשל. אז אני מאוד מקווה שאחד השינויים הדרמטיים שיהיו בכנסת הבאה זה שינוי שיטת הממשל.
In the meantime, the forum acts to educate the younger generation. Senior businessmen in Israel give lectures and hold workshops throughout the country in order to influence the generation that as of today can shape our political system and reshape the future of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Citizens Empowerment Center, we believe that we can bring change. We can influence the country's future. And this future is nearer than you can imagine.